Hello, folks. Thank you for joining us here on Public Affairs. I am your host. My name is John Peterson, and today we are talking to folks from the Y-Men Service Club here in Marion County. We want you to get to know them because their work efforts here in the county, in the community, is very worthy of discussion. So let me introduce you to John Craycraft on my left. He is the president of the Y-Men Service Club. And on my right, Glenn Chase, who serves that organization in a vice president role. And so I want to introduce you to them and them to you. So let me begin with this. By the way, I guess I should just ask the question, and either one of you guys who wants to answer can choose to do so. So how long have you guys been around? I mean, the organization, how long has the organization been in existence?
Well, we started in 1943.
Can I ask you to stop right there? Did you hear that, folks? 1943. So I'll continue then.
That's just a while back.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a century ago.
Right. The organization was started really by some gentlemen that were involved in construction of the engineer depot on 309 East. And being from out of town, they decided to meet on a weekly basis for lunch. And by those weekly meetings, they formed some friendships, and they organized the Y-Men Service Club.
Wow.
So it's been around for quite a while.
Yeah. And as a result of this discussion we're having here, you're going to be more well-known, hopefully, than you are now, and we'll provide folks with ways to get in touch with you and whatever. So the Y-Men Service Club, been in existence since 1943. Your sphere of activity, is it how broad a reach do you have?
We mostly Marion County.
Mostly Marion County?
Well, I say Marion County.
Okay.
Right.
And I mentioned too, we have a motto, believe it or not, is people serving people. Which is we've stood by and kind of stick to that, Marion County people.
Serving people. Mm-hmm. That is a interesting motto. So you have existed as an organization since 1943. You're serving the people of Marion County. More specifically, who do you serve? What needs do you provide, and in what arrangement is that?
Okay, well, for the last several years, our primary project, you might say, is the construction of wheelchair ramps for people that are physically in need and financially in need. They come to us, and we do a review, send them out an application. We look at the property to make sure, number one, we can do a wheelchair ramp, and number two, to make sure we have adequate materials and know what we're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
It does take a little planning, obviously, because you can have a ramp that is 12 feet long, and you might have one that's 72 feet long, depending on the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
So we get out there and take a look at the project, come up with a list of materials, arrange it on a schedule, have the materials delivered, and then we get to it.
Well, nobody's getting paid. I know that's another thing we haven't mentioned
True.
yet, but nobody's getting paid, and you're all volunteers, true?
That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And has it always been that way?
Yes.
All-
Everyone's volunteer. Right.
A volunteer organization that's been in business since, not in business, but in service since 1943, and still functioning in 2021,
Right.
in November. That's quite something here. So you mentioned, okay, so somebody's listening out there who has perhaps themselves or a family member that has a physical need, whether it be in a need of a wheelchair ramp to be able to get in and out of their dwelling. So we will have some contact information, which you see on the screen there, and they can get in contact with you through either of those means, either send a letter or whatever to to the address there on the screen or find you on Facebook at the Y Men Service Club. So they then have an opportunity to get in touch with you. You respond back to them to ask them to fill out a questionnaire.
Correct.
So you either mail it to them or they mail it to you, somewhere whether they get that form from you to them and then you back. So then there's a screening process, I understand, through that mechanism.
That's correct.
We'll always respond to them, whether if they qualify or not, and set up a date we can do it, and so it just didn't try to make sure that it just doesn't go to the trash. They'll know that we recognize that it's in there. Whether they qualify or not is something we determine.
Yes. That is actually that's a big deal all by itself. That when they make an outreach to you, you do contact them, and regardless of whether, like maybe for instance, you find out that they have the means to have it to pay for it themselves, then that would not be something you perhaps would be doing. But so in other words, you're a volunteer organization. You basically help those people who cannot help themselves. True?
Right.
So once the screening process is complete, then they will know whether you can serve them or not.
That's correct.
True. Now, all of this effort, you talk about buying lumber and materials and all of that, that takes money. So how are you funded?
All right. Well, right now, our big fundraiser is coming up as a matter of fact, on Friday, we open a tree lot to sell Christmas trees, which we do annually.
And that tree lot is where?
It's at the corner of Church and Reed.
Oh.
It's right behind the Jersey.
Oh.
And everyone knows where the Jersey
Yes.
is. And this year, there's been a lot of things on the news and so forth about a shortage of Christmas trees, and we did run into that. We're not able to get the selection that we normally do. We do have a good selection, but this year we only have 375 trees, and they'll go very quickly. And our advice is to get to the lot early.
And that lot opens to sell Christmas trees on when?
It opens Friday, right after Thanksgiving, at noon on Friday, and we'll go to 7 o'clock, and then normally we're open on the weekends from noon to 7, and through the week from 4 to 7.
Okay.
And with the nights getting darker, or the days getting darker sooner, we do have lights at the tree lots, so you'll be able to pick out the tree you want, but the thing is to get there early, because it is limited. The other thing, we have not raised our prices on Christmas trees in at least 5 years. In fact, this year we had to pass on buying Christmas trees from one of the brokers because the Christmas trees would cost us more than we could ever sell them for.
Wow.
And so we got from one distributor. They're nice trees. We unloaded them the other day. They look nice. There'll be a choice of trees. We have tabletop trees, smaller trees.
Wow.
We have trees anywhere from $20. The average is going to be about $45 to $50, and we have very few, like 10-foot trees,
Oh.
and they'll be $75. But we have like 4 or 5 of those is all we have. But there is a nice selection of very good trees.
And those are real trees, not...
Right, they're cut trees, cut live trees, right?
Wow. So you mentioned a Christmas tree sale. Other ways of funding?
John?
We have a golf outing. About 13 years ago, we started a golf outing, and it's been it must help because at one time there was so many people selling Christmas trees that you just couldn't do it and make any money on it. So we started a golf outing, and it's been a pretty good job for us. It's helped make money. So
Okay.
that's about the way we make them. Of course, we get a lot of donations from people. So, but Christmas
And that golf outing is held locally?
Kings Mill.
Kings Mill.
That's where we've had it most all year, and of course that isn't locked in. We have to go whenever they can do it and so forth. So
Yes, yes.
but I do think we have it scheduled already. It's in June,
Ah,
so just let people know we like it. But it's pretty good deal.
and any other source of funding?
Well, the Marion Council on Aging, they give us money to build ramps. They've been very generous, and we've been able to build ramps that we couldn't have built without their help. And also Modern Woodman financially sponsors ramps. They've been very, very good to us and helped us in building ramps for people that need it. And
So there are various organizations that have financially supported you. And by the way, for those of you listening who may need to know this, YMN Service Clubs is a 501c3 organization, so the legitimacy there and also tax deductibility
Correct.
of donations there, that's something that, it's important, I know from my own history that, it's important to have a 501c3 empowerment rating or whatever, so therefore, folks, the donations to them are tax deductible. So so we've already covered how folks can get in touch with you. There is on the screen there, the address to YMN, P.O. Box 275, Marion, Ohio. Note the zip code, 43301, or you can find them on Facebook at YMN Service Club on Facebook.com. And so if they want to contact you, that would be probably the easiest and the quickest way they therefore can go and they can make their comment there, and you will get that and respond to them. And then so step us through the process that if someone contacts you by Facebook, what's the process by which they are actually helped?
Okay. Well, since I kind of oversee the Facebook page, when I see a request, I let them know right away that we do have a form that needs to be filled out, and it will be sent out to them within a few days, which normally does happen. I immediately contact our secretary, and he prepares the form and gets it to them. Once they get the form, they fill it out. It's a one-page, big print form, so it doesn't take very long. And then mail it back to the address, which is on the form, and it's on the TV screen now. And we have a committee that is in charge of our ramps, and they will make arrangements to go to the property to see, number one, that it's feasible, that there's enough room to build a ramp and so forth. And we'll look at it and see if we can do it, and if so, we will tell the people yes. If we can't, we'll tell them the reason we can't do it, and then we'll get it on the schedule.
Very good.
We normally start when it gets a little warmer. Being older people, it needs to be warm before we start working outdoors.
Right.
So early May through, say, September is when we build the ramps normally. Okay. And last year we did 18, and we'll probably do about that many this next year.
Okay. Is your work activity unique to building wheelchair ramps, or do you do other things?
Besides building ramps?
Yes.
Well, we do donate to other 501c3 organizations. We did the Royal Kids Camp, which unfortunate kids in situations get to, and we have volunteers that also go out and help, especially with the fishing day that they have.
Yeah.
We also have donated the Boys and Girls Club, for instance, but there's a multitude of others. Safety City, where the kids learn safety rules and crossing the street and so forth. When they complete that course, they're all presented with a fire alarm. We do buy, I believe we bought 1,000, didn't we?
I think it is.
1,000 fire alarms every year, so they get that. And we've helped many, many organizations.
One you might mention too, that when we build a ramp, it's absolutely, we don't take any money at all.
Yes.
It's strictly donation on our part to finish it, finance it, and so we have people that want to pay, but we can't. We don't donate. We don't take it. But if we're going to do it, we're doing it for free. So.
Right.
So let me circle around to the beginning here. Because there's people that may have just joined us here and tuned in, and we want to be sure that they understand some of the things that we've already covered. That you are a you and others serving with you, it's an all-volunteer organization, correct?
That's correct.
And you've been around, the organization has been functioning since 1943.
Correct.
You are a 501c3 organization, fully legitimized, if you will, in that process. Any donations to you are tax deductible as a result of being a 501c3 organization. So someone finds you on Facebook as a result of this notice there on the lower part of your screen. They contact you via Facebook. You very soon get back to them. You send them out a form, basically a financial screening form, to find out what their need is and so forth, and an address. They send a form out. You send it to them. They return it to you. You respond to them, and you go out and do an assessment of the property to see, specifically now, wheelchair ramp. You look at do an inspection of the property to see, is it feasible, and how big is it, and you make an assessment of, what it's going to cost to do this. And then, going back to you, John, the person who has contacted you, and you're out to their dwelling now, doing the assessment, they are comforted with the fact that they've already filled out the screening form, so they cannot afford this, and you do not charge them anything.
No, we don't, nothing. It's
completely free.
Right.
For them. The funding for this, the reason I'm doing this now, kind of recapping, is, again, because of people who may be tune in and see this.
Right.
So you are funded primarily by an annual Christmas tree sale, which you have, Glenn, you have itemized here, and a golf outing to be held as the King's Mill Club coming up in June, but that location will be known ahead of time to whomever who would like to do that. And you have funding whereby donations from other organizations, you mentioned a few of them. So the people that are watching this and are learning about Y Men Service Club for the first time are probably a little bit surprised that it's all volunteer, and you've been functioning since 1943, and somehow or another you had to go through the process, because it's not cheap to get the 501c3 designation, all that paperwork done and all that, and you're still functioning.
Correct.
And you're all volunteer. That to me says that you perhaps would welcome others who are learning about you, who would like to volunteer with you. So can you speak to that matter, either one of you?
Go ahead, John.
Well, we always look for members. We're like every other service club, hurting members. So we do need to, there's really no obligation. We're strictly a local club. We don't have any master ceremony in Washington or anything like that. Everything we do is local. And all they need to do is, most anytime they use any effort, they can get a hold of one of us. And any one of the club would be glad to direct them in the right way to join the club. And we meet once a month, or twice a month. We have a business meeting on the first Wednesday of the month, and then we have just a social meeting, I might say, just later in the third week of the month. And there's no requirements of you have to attend any meetings, or don't have to ride the golden mule, as some of them say like that. You just let us know.
There's no initiation, right?
No initiation. You just come out and say you want to be, and we'll be welcomed.
Okay. Anything you want to add to that, Glenn?
Well, we do meet at the VFW, the Cheney VFW on Route 4 South.
Okay.
They fix very good meals. We have a room that we meet in, so they won't be sitting in the open area.
Yes.
We have a meeting room, and the meetings start typically at 6 o'clock. 6:30 is when we have supper, but Facebook page would be a good place to, if you're interested, send a message, and I'll get back to you with the information, details, and when you could come and so forth, and you'd be very welcome. And come and see, and there's no obligation. If it's not a fit for you, fine, and you may find it to be a great fit for you.
Well, I know that there's people, most of whom may be retired, but that's fine. They don't necessarily have to have any special skills. If they want to help, you already have skilled people, and you will attract more. But the point is, they don't have to have special skills, true?
No.
Just want to be able to help.
That's it.
So it's an all-volunteer organization. You've been in business since, not in business, so to speak, but in existence, serving people since 1943. You're a 501c3 organization, very, very legitimate organization. You're funded by Christmas tree sales, golf outing, funding from various organizations, local. Your work sphere, where you build these ramps, is in Marion, local to Marion County. So if you're considering volunteering, that's the sphere of activity would be within Marion County. And I think, as one of you mentioned, that it typically takes you less than half a day to build the average ramp, and so it's not a big time commitment.
Right.
And I don't know. You mentioned you built, I think, 18 ramps this year.
Right.
And I think one year you said you built up to 25. So that's the workload, if you will.
Right.
And I would like to mention this also. I think it's maybe inappropriate. I'm not sure, so I'll back off of that. You can do whatever you want with this information. But there is a local organization that sells you supplies at a discount, which that is a legitimizing thing right there. That a local business organization that has supplies to sell, they are giving you a discount. That is another, thing in your favor, that you're very, very legitimate. So, folks, those of you listening, I know from my own perspective here that there's not many organizations where 100% of the funding goes into the actual product of helping those who cannot help themselves. These folks are rare, and if you would like to volunteer with them, whatever your skill level is or lack of that skill level, I am quite sure that sometimes all you need is a pair of hands and feet. That's right? And just helping whoever has a skill level to be able to do the job, so to speak. So if you have time and you're available, and the work is done within Marion County, and you're building wheelchair ramps, you don't have to design it. You don't have to actually build it. There's people with skills to do that. If you want to help in that, to help your fellow man who cannot help himself financially, or maybe with physical limitations and whatever, this is a marvelous organization to become affiliated with. So comments on anything that I said, Glenn or John?
No, the skill level you hit right on. We've had people that had really no tool skill level, but they learn too. We teach them some skills. Mm-hmm. More than willing to have people that, if nothing else, can bring a 2x4 to us, and we'll teach you what a 2x4 is.
Yes.
It's unloading the lumber is not a big deal because Henry Lumber delivers it to us, and we just have to get it from the pile to where we're working. So we do anything from drilling holes to cutting wood, and if someone's not comfortable handling something, a saw or whatever, it's no big deal. Somebody else will do it. But
we do have, we talk about working and so forth, which is true, but if you just want to come out for the fellowship of the meeting, we do have, we're pretty nice guys.
Oh, we can tell that right here, right?
And we're glad to have you, just to talk, and eventually you'll work your way into being part of the club. But
not only that, but let me add this, John. Someone who comes out and just wants to participate in whatever potentially limited level they can, what they will be learning be a benefit maybe to them, but more than that, anybody with a functioning emotional system and whatever, can be an advocate to get the word out through their sphere of activity,
Right.
so they can learn. I mean, what they can learn, they can take and share that, and maybe others can come in, as volunteers. And so there's a lot of different avenues to be able to reach out, to be able to get the volunteers that you need. So I want, folks, let me just address this to you. I have lived in this community for quite some time, decades. And I know how few people there are, service organizations in a sense, I know how few people there are who are legitimate, genuine, they're honest, they perform a very, very, very needed function that very few other people are performing. Wheelchair ramps for people that are either financially incapable or physically incapable to provide for themselves. This is an organization that provides a service that is very, very needed. 18 wheelchair ramps in this year and up to 25, I think, on a high watermark earlier on another year. That they're totally funded by donations. Let me start over with that. The donations had to be with a place to send the check there, the P.O. Box 275, Marion, Ohio. But it began with and continues to be a Christmas tree sale that will go on. That will start the Friday after Thanksgiving this year and continue as long as you have trees. Right. Very, very cost effective. I mean, the prices that you suggested, I know that those are very economical trees and high value. They're actually cut trees, not imitations, so to speak, or quote unquote plastic, whatever.
Last year we sold out in 7 days.
7 days.
So,
and you're only open 4 hours a day.
Right. So get there early.
Get there early. Yeah. Very, very good thing. And those of you who would like to donate, again, the Y-Men Service Club is a 501c3 registered organization. Your donations are tax deductible, therefore, and you can see the address there on the screen by which to send them. Or you can go to Facebook and look for Y-Men Service Club, and you can find out more about them and get in touch with them if you're so whether you are a person in need or a person who wants to help.
Correct.
Either way. So whether you're a person in need, you're a person who wants to help, or you want to donate or find out more information, what this program is functioning to do is to make you aware that these folks are here. John, thank you very much for being with us. And Glenn, once again, thank you very much. And thank you folks for joining us here and watching and becoming aware with us of this work scale here at Y-Men Service Club in Marion County. Again, I'm your host. My name is John Peterson. Thank you very much for joining us.